Every episode in the series has shown you one or two skills, probably solving one specific job. A brief that became a deck, a PDF that became a spreadsheet, a campaign topic that became a real script, or even platform ready captions, right? Each of those is genuinely useful on its own, but individually, they're still tools. So you pick one up, you use it, then you put it down, then you pick the next one up. Now, this episode is going to be a bit different. This one shows you what happens when you stop thinking about skills as individual tools and start running them as a connected chain. So, one piece of source material goes in the start, five skills run in a sequence, complete different deliverables come out from the other end. Probably a spreadsheet, a leadership deck, and a LinkedIn post. All from the same campaign data, that too in a single session without needing to switch tools. This is the episode that makes the whole series click for you. We're going to be covering five skills today from one source. So I'm going to have the agency report from the Meridian Media Orenda campaign, and we're going to read the PDF, analyze it using the Excel as skill, make a leadership deck using PPTX, have a LinkedIn post crafted, and then use the humanizer skill by Blader inside Claude to make it human and natural and ready to post. Right? So the same campaign data with zero tool switching end to end, I'm going to be covering in this video. Okay, before anything, let me be specific by what I mean by chaining, because it's more important than just using multiple skills in a row, right? So in a standard workflow, right, you probably use a tool, you get an output. So if I were to say here you have an agency report, then you'd probably copy paste it, reformat it, and then send it to the Excel, where you will again rewrite and adapt and build the slides in PowerPoint. Then maybe you would use this, to write your LinkedIn post, and then probably strip the AI tone and decide to humanize it, right? So each tool has a gap, right? Between the next one. Then this is a human step that prepares the output for the next input. A skill chain essentially eliminates these gaps, right? The output of each skill is already formatted as the input for the next skill. So you're not preparing anything between the steps, so you're just handing it off directly, right? So the manual handoffs get eliminated and the hours disappear. So now you have one chain with no gaps and the speed automatically compounds. See, the analogy that I keep coming back to is the difference between a relay race and a series of sprints, right? In a series of sprints, each runner finishes, hands the baton to, let's say, the next to the maybe a coach, and then the coach decides what to do with it, and eventually the next runner starts, right? In a relay, on the other hand, where it's not a series of sprints, the first player, the first runner, automatically gives the baton in the best way that can be carried by the second runner, right? The baton goes directly from hand to hand. Nothing is lost between the steps, so the speed automatically compounds here. And that's what we're going to see today. Five skills, each one's output becomes the next one's input. So it's one campaign worth of data processed end to end without you managing the handoffs manually. Before I even run the chain, I want to name what this workflow looks like manually. See, I don't want to be dramatic about it, just because the contrast is going to be the point. Well, you receive the agency report, right? And you'll probably receive it as a PDF. Once you open it, you'll probably read through it, find the entire narrative, right? With the actual numbers, the copy, the performance table into the Excel sheet, right? Reformat the columns maybe to match your own naming convention. And this would take approximately 40 minutes, right? Then let's say you want to build a debrief deck in PowerPoint. So you maybe already have a template if you are somebody who has their own brand strategy. In case you haven't seen how to make your own brand strategies, well, there's a video in this same series. I will link it up here so you can go watch that. And let's say you have your own template, right? You create the slides from the results, you have the channel breakdowns, what exactly worked, what didn't, and the recommendations, everything, right? You write it down. That's another 90 minutes off the bat, right? Minimum. If you're working quickly, I'm talking about this 90 minutes, a minimum. Sometimes, my friends in corporates, they would spend about a day just making a deck, right? Let's say you do this as well, right? And now you think that, oh, I want to write a LinkedIn post out of it. um, Seeing what are the key insights from, let's say, this particular campaign. So you draft it, then you edit it, then you strip the AI tone out of it, right? If you use something like Claude to draft it, and that's another 30-40 minutes spent there. So total somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours, right? Spread across one, two, three, four tools at the moment, without, using any kind of AI tool. You'd probably be using multiple tools, having manual hands off, and the time gets lost in these gaps, right? So a skill chain workflow, a connected one here, as I have shown, would probably work better than the manual workflow. I'm going to be using the same agency report that we used back in episode number 6. You can check that out up in the iCard, the episode number 6 if you haven't seen it. But we were working with Meridian Media's Diwali campaign wrap for Orenda Skincare. So if you haven't seen that episode, this is basically a 5-page PDF with a narrative, right? And a channel performance table inside it. So the 5 skills that I'm going to be working with, I am going to be using Claude for that. So I'm going to quickly attach this here. It says that I'm out of usage credits, but I am not. I checked my settings. I think there is some issue from Claude's end that this error message is popping up. All right. So I have attached this in the chat section, right? It's asking me how can I help you, right? So let's look at PDF reading first. So I am going to make Claude read the PDF, right? So I've uploaded the report, and you've seen this step before multiple times, right? So the skill reads through the PDF, pulls out the structured data, it ignores the padding, all of it, right? And I'm going to ask for it to make a 2-tab spreadsheet. So I'm going to say, turn this PDF into a 2-tab spreadsheet, right? What all do I need to have? So tab 1 is going to be, let's say, about channel performance data from this report. And tab 2, for that matter, let it be channel by channel analysis, right? I want the verdict of scale, let's say maintain, or even cut for that matter, for each channel. Let's say with the key numbers that support it. Right? I'm going to be quickly running this. If you see that the error message is there, but it's still working, there is some backend problem, but it is now working. It's reading the Excel skill, and it will also use the PDF. So it's already extracted it from there. And now it's going to be turning this PDF into a 2-tab spreadsheet. So also from episode 6, right? Raw data in one tab, channel verdicts in the other. If you watch that episode, you know exactly what's about to come. So watch what happens after this one. All right, good. So now I have it in the form of, let's say, a spreadsheet. It has all the channels that I mentioned, the performance of each channel, what it is, whether to scale, whether to cut or review, or even maintain, right? We have the analysis and the performance both in different tabs as requested. If you see here, Google Display consumed about 9.1 times the return on ad spend. So definitely cut or review. So the verdict is cut or review because it's about, you know, consuming 18% of the 9% of the total revenue share, right? So the verdict gets cut, and that's the insight. And we'll hold on to this because this is what we will need in step number 4, right? Now let's move on to the PPTX skill. I have a prompt that I already written about, let's say, a campaign debrief deck for Orenda's leadership team. The source data is the channel performance analysis above. So I'm just going to quickly above. So I'll lead with the headline result, the return on ad spend, whatever there is, and all of it, right? I need 10 slides in total. So I've mentioned that and I've given this to them. Now, here's what's new, right? In episode 1, I wrote a brief by hand to feed it into PPTX. In episode 5, the marketing manager probably wrote a debrief brief. This time, the data from Excel analysis is the brief. So the chain is actually feeding itself. The output of step 2 became the input of step 3 without me writing anything new, right? So if you see, if I take a moment here, it's already generating. And once it's generated, I'll be back. Okay, folks, the output is here, and here is what you can see. We beat the target, so that's good. They've given the entire campaign, right, in different methods. They've put this here as well. So there are 3 recommendations, right? One is scale Instagram. Number 2 is cutting or restructuring the Google display ads or capping the emails to 2 cents, right? And also refining the influencer creator mix here, right? So that's the debrief deck. So every time that somebody wants to actually make this, they can directly use it. So they've done this. Now let's understand how we can use this debrief deck as, let's say, something that's going to allow me to attach this debrief deck in, let's say, LinkedIn, and write, let's say, LinkedIn post related to this, and how we are learning the lesson from, let's say, our last campaign about Google display ads and what happened and how we have figured it out. So I had made this. So now let me just quickly put this in. So it should be professional, direct, and insight first. So it's reading my humanizer perfect skill. So this humanizer personal skill is basically a skill that I created so that the general humanizer skill also gets refined according to my own personal tone. So now it's going to be using that. So using the same caption generator skill, right, for LinkedIn that you saw from episode number 4. The source material has changed, but in episode 4, we were generating, let's say, from social content, for, let's say, a particular campaign topic. Here, what we're doing is we're generating it from specific data point that came out of an Excel sheet. The insight isn't invented at all. It just came from the chain, right? So let's see here. What does it say? We ran Google Display with 18% of our budget last campaign. It delivered 9% of revenue. ROAS was this much. Campaign average was 4.6, right? We're cutting it for the next one. And honestly, the bigger lesson isn't about Google Display. It's about the habit of keeping a channel in the mix just because it's there. Because it's familiar, because it ran last time. So this is writing in the same tonality that I write my papers in. So good structure, right? It's also insight first, and there's a specific number, and there's a clear decision. Now, the last step of humanization is already applied in here because it automatically invoked my personal humanizer skill because I'd already written something about tone, right? Let's say if I were not to do this, right? If I were to, not invoke, let's say, the humanizer personal skill here, I probably just say /humanizer and write something like humanize the above answer, right? And that's how it would be. So now we've seen the version that goes out, that is the version that is completely humanized from, the Excel, which was then converted into a debrief PPT. So we've seen 5 steps coming out of one agency PDF in. So the spreadsheet, the leadership deck, and a LinkedIn post out, right? Total time for all of these 5 steps were probably the time that was this entire video. So here, you know, we are not doing the same work that can be done manually across different tools with reformatting in the gaps, right? That's the better part of the morning, and this is how you can optimize your time and save up time in your workday. See, the practical implication of a chain like this is not just speed. It's the category of work that used to require blocking out a morning that now fits inside just 30 minutes. That changes what you actually put in your calendar. So, a campaign brief that previously needed only 2 hours of focused document production time can happen the same morning the report even arrives. And the LinkedIn post as well can be crafted that could have been delayed, can be crafted in the same time that someone had to write it, comes out of the session as a debrief, right? So one honest note on these chains though, they require clean handoffs. So if your source PDF is poorly structured and it's heavily on images or is scanned rather than exported, the extraction in probably step one will be less reliable, and that will then affect the entire chain. So it's extremely important to also check the output at each step, and the input automatically then gets checked, right? The chain is only as good as its first step. For well structured agency reports, right, which is probably most of them, this will run cleanly. For many source documents, you might need to tidy the step one output before feeding it forward. See, the broader point is that start looking at workflows not as a sequence of tools, but as a sequence of handoffs. So, where are the gaps? Where are you doing manual reformatting between steps? Those are gaps that can be fulfilled by building chains. I have a quick question for the comments. Which step in this chain actually maps to something in your work right now? Not in the next quarter, but this week. Drop the step number in the comments. 1 means PDF extraction, 2 means the spreadsheet, 3 means the deck, 4 means the social post, and 5 means humanizing the copy. And I want to know where your pain actually sits. One more episode is left in this series. So, episode 8 was seeing it all together. Episode 9 is going to be making it yours. So, it will cover building a custom skill from scratch, a workflow trained on your brand, your format, your team specific standards. If you ever thought that the PPTX skill is good, but my decks don't really look like that, well, I have the secret recipe which I'm going to be sharing in episode 9, and that's exactly what it's going to address. So I'm going to be seeing you in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. So see you next time.